The whole armor of Yahuwah. Put on the whole armor of Yahuwah, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of Hasatan. Ephesians 6 and 11. The whole armor of Yahuwah is the thing most talked about when you hear a lesson or a sermon on spiritual warfare. I love to hear about this topic because this is one of the areas that is super important to me. Be strong in Yahuwah and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of Yahuwah so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore put on the full armor of Yahuwah, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you have done everything to stand, stand firm then, with the belt of truth buckled round your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the Besorah of Shalom. In addition to all this, take up the shield of Amunah, with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Ruach, which is the word of Yahuwah. Ephesians 6, 10 through 17. To start things off on the right foot, I would like to state that the whole armor of Yahuwah is a supernatural reality. The majority of messages you will hear of this subject will present the armor by using natural explanations for this supernatural reality. So I want to jump out here and say that I have seen the armor in the Ruach realm, and it is real. It is not some analogy to make a point or a metaphor to make the point stick in your mind. No, the whole armor is a real spiritual thing. The first thing that I would suggest is that even before you understand fully about the whole armor, you begin to lay hold of it by Amunah. Here is how I do it. Dear Yahuwah, right now by Amunah, I take hold of your provision for warfare and protection. The whole armor of Yahuwah, I put on the helmet of salvation. I put on the breastplate of righteousness. I wrap around my loins the girdle of truth. I put upon my feet the shoes of the preparation of the Besorah of Shalom. I take the shield of Amunah, by which every fire dart is quenched, and I take up the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of you, Yahuwah. Yahuwah, teach me about this armor. Let the reality of this armor be manifest in my life. Make me a soldier that is effective for the sake of the kingdom. In Yahushua HaMashiach's mighty name I pray. So be it. Stand therefore having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness. Ephesians 6:14. Loins girt about with truth. Truth is foundational in the life of a follower of Yahushua. You can't walk in power and in a lie at the same time. Satan is the father of lies. The enemy will try to get you to lie in the course of your life, because if you walk in mixture, you will have very little power in the spiritual realm. Oh, it won't be anything big, but then again, it doesn't have to be. Tell them I'm not home, or the check is in the mail, or I'm too sick to come in, cough, cough. Just enough mixture that the part of your armor is spoiled. Truth is also foundational in the area of the scriptures themselves, and correct interpretation and application of them for our lives. Scriptures that have been dumbed down, for instance, will not convey the correct or truthful meaning and will not have the power to work in your life. This is one area of pet peeve for me. It never ceases to amaze me that people can take the most supernatural verses in the Bible and say, well, that's not really what it means. Wherefore, putting away lying, speak every man truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another. Ephesians 4:25. Lie not one to another, seeing that ye have put off the old man with his deeds. Colossians 3:9. Of course, we must speak the truth in love. If love is not our motivation, we shouldn't speak. I had a friend once that would say the most ungodly, horrendous things, and when I would call him on them, his excuse was always that he was bound to speak the truth. I don't think that's what Yah had in mind. If you purpose to walk in the truth, it will be easier to walk in the truth and in love. The breastplate of righteousness. Our own righteousness is as filthy rags, but thankfully Yahusha gave us his righteousness and took upon himself our sin. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of Yahuwah, and their righteousness is of me, saith Yahuwah. Yeshayahu 54:17. And be found in him, not having my own righteousness, which is of the law, but that which is through the faith of Yahusha, the righteousness which is of Yahuwah by faith. Philippians 3:9. Righteousness is to be free from guilt or sin, or to act fairly according to divine law. To walk in righteousness is to make correct moral judgments, not being influenced by sin or deceptions. As you study the word, and as the mind of Yahusha is made manifest within you, the result of Yahusha's righteousness is all the more evident. Our gospel shoes, and your feet shod with the preparation of the Besorah of Shalom, Ephesians 6:15. Our whole mission is the Besorah, so it is no wonder that it is part of our armor. The fact that our feet are shod with it, I believe, is because we take the Besorah everywhere we go, everywhere we travel. And how shall they preach except they be sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the Besorah of Shalom, and bring glad tidings of good things. Romans 10:15. How beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him that bringeth good tidings, that publisheth Shalom, that bringeth good tidings of good, that publisheth salvation, that saith unto Zion, thy Yahuwah reigneth. Yeshayahu 52:7. I believe also that the shoes denote that the Besorah gives us a firm footing or foundation. The more we immerse ourselves in the Besorah, the more secure our stand will be. If you are swinging a sword around, you will need a secure footing. The helmet of salvation. And take the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of Yahuwah. Ephesians 6:17. I believe that the helmet of salvation is Yahusha. Yahusha is our salvation. He is the head of the body, the head of the assembly, and we are also instructed to have the mind of Yahusha. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Yahushua HaMashiach. Philippians 2:5. With Yahusha as your head and as your covering, it will be hard to be swayed in your thinking. The things of the world will not draw your thoughts, nor your attentions, or your affections. The sword of the Ruach. The sword of the Ruach is the word of Yahuwah. That is our weapon. Speaking forth the word of Yahuwah is the most powerful thing you can do, the most powerful response you can have. Even the decrees and pronouncements, the praises and the rebukes are based in the word of Yahuwah. You don't need another weapon. That's why the word says that life and death are in the power of the tongue. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Proverbs 18:21. And he hath made my mouth like a sharp sword, and the shadow of his hand hath he hid me, and made me a polished shaft, in his quiver hath he hid me. Yeshayahu 49:2. For the word of Yahuwah is quick and powerful, and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit, and of the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. Hebrews 4:12. The sword of the Spirit can immediately quench evil thoughts or temptations. It can stop the workings of evil spirits in people or situations. The sword of the Spirit can help carve out a victorious life and HaMashiach for you and for others. Keep your sword handy. The shield of Amunah. Above all, taking the shield of Amunah, wherewith you should be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. Ephesians 6:16. Back in the days before I believed in the supernatural things of Yahuwah, I would see a verse like this and think it meant something like, have amunah, because that would help us not to give in to the temptation of sin, that the darts were really just temptations to think bad thoughts, etc. Since my spiritual eyes have been opened, however, I have actually seen things stuck into me in the spirit. They were things that didn't belong and I had to remove. I also saw at one occasion several angry, evil spirits that were throwing what appeared to be shreds of glass at me. I did not realize it at the time, but some of them stuck me and I found them lodged in my feet about 2 years later, and I immediately knew what they were and where they came from. That's one reason I say without hesitation that these weapons and these armors are real spiritual things that we appropriate by amunah, and they are powerful. We wait and hope for Yahuwah. He is our help and our shield. Psalms 33:20. Every word of Yahuwah is pure. He is a shield unto them that put their trust in him. Proverbs 30:5. The shield of amunah is believing the things that are truth rather than the bad report or the things that are seen. The things that are seen are subject to change and will give way to the greater spiritual reality when your amunah is exercised. Using the shield of faith is when the medical experts say it's too late, there is no hope. But we believe Yeshayahu 53:5 instead and declare it over the situation. By his stripes we are healed. Or when loved ones tell you that they will never accept your religion because that's what they believe it to be, but you calmly declare it and they said, believe on Adonai Yahushua HaMashiach and thou shalt be saved, and thy house. Acts 16:31. What are your own feelings and thoughts about the whole armor of Yahuwah? How do you appropriate these things for your own lives? What can you share about them that would help others in their own battles and warfare? In Ephesians chapter 6, Shaul really makes it clear that this is a spiritual reality and that it is coming. There is no just in case mentally here, but a surety that the evil day will come. All of the armor is given us to deal specifically with the enemy we will face and the kinds of weaponry we will face. Pray that Yahuwah will give you a greater understanding about the whole armor of Yahuwah. Pray that it will not just be a written scripture to you, but a real and living Ruach reality.